Okay, this is my 2001 GMC C3. It's a 6-liter motor, and I'm getting ready to convert it to natural gas. The truck gets about 13 miles a gallon. It's all-wheel drive. It's always in 4-wheel drive, so it gets terrible gas mileage. But I love the truck. It's expensive to drive, so I thought, I'll give natural gas a try, see how it works out. I picked up a kit from my CNG guy. They're pretty knowledgeable. They've tested a lot of different systems and seem like they really know what they're doing, so I went ahead and ordered from them. It's pretty simple. I've got the sequential kit, and you drill right into your intake, and you can see that there. There's one injector nozzle. There's an injector nozzle there. Pretty simple to put in. You need to be careful when you're installing your injector nozzles. The intake is about 125 thousandths thick. So when you're drilling and tapping, I used a 1/4-28 tap and a number 4 drill bit, and I tapped it by hand. You can't really get in there and use a tap handle. If you had something to install on the back side of your tap, like a socket extension, a ratchet extension, that would be great. It'd be easier to get in there. I did mine by hand. I didn't tap them all the way down. When I tapped them, I just got the tap started, and then I drew it, and then I went ahead and finished it off with the injector nozzle, because if you tap it all the way down, it's going to be a little bit loose in the intake. So I wanted them to be as tight as possible, so that's how I did mine. And also, I cut the injector nozzles down because they just, they're long. Didn't really need to be in there that far. Anything that goes into the intake runner like that and sticks into the intake is going to disturb airflow. So I went ahead and cut about 1/4 of an inch off of them, as you can see there. Started my wiring, and it's pretty simple. That's the computer mounted up on the firewall. When you first see the harness, it's a little intimidating, and I'm actually an aircraft electrician, so when I saw it, I was like, wow, a lot of wiring, but it's pretty simple, really. You have just a few things you really need to hook up on this. Mine's an 01, so my OBD2 isn't compatible with this, which kind of stunk, because if you can hook up your OBD2, then it talks to your computer and adjusts on the fly. So you don't have to do as much tuning because it's self-tuned. It's self-tuned anyway. You set up the parameters, drive it on gas, and then switch over to CNG and drive it, and it self-tunes. But long term, it's your OBD2 system. If you have a CAN bus, which is on the newer vehicles, it talks to the computer and kind of continually adjusts to your driving parameters, which is a really nice deal. But mine was older, and so it's not going to work out on mine. But if you have a newer truck, it would work great. Your oxygen sensors on my truck, I didn't need to hook them up. It just takes a reading off your oxygen sensor and tells you the voltage it's running. When you run your program, it'll come up on your laptop, and you'll see the O2 sensor voltages, if I remember correctly. And then you have a what is that? I've got them all marked, make it a little easier. Pressure gauge and the tank valve wiring here. Your blue and white goes to your tank valve if you have a powered tank valve, and then of course you have ground, and your green and your white go to your pressure gauge. O2 sensors, I'm dropping mine and not using them, so I'll just stow them. And if I decide to put it on take it off and put it on a newer style truck, and to keep the wires there, I can hook them up on the newer pickup. And that's kind of my plan. It's expensive initially. The initial investment's kind of high, but you can take the kit out and switch it over to a newer style truck if you want to. That's your OBD2 wiring. if you're hooking up to a CAN bus. I believe it's, well, I don't remember for sure. I think it's the green and yellow. So it's in your wiring diagram. It's pretty simple. Of course, there's the regulator. Got mine installed. Pretty simple to install. Just drill and bolt on. You'll make sure that you get it where you want it the first time. You don't want to be moving it around. So we have that. We have a ejector harness. Okay, this goes to your injector wiring. Each one of these, and it's in the wiring diagram. Pretty simple to figure out. You have a yellow. Of course, you have a yellow and black. Each wire has each set of wires anyway has a solid color and then a striped color, like a blue and then a blue-black. Well, in your wiring diagram, you'll see you splice into your injector negative side, and you'll hook one of the wires into the computer side and then one of the wires into the injector side. And like I said, that's all in the wiring diagram. Pretty simple to figure out. And you have a red and white, which goes to your ignition system, your ignition wire. Key on, then you're hot. This you can tap into one of your injector plus sides. Pretty simple. You have your injector harness here. Of course, this corresponds with your wire colors here. Let's see if I can get a little better. My phone is not doing a great job of focusing, but anyway, in your wiring diagram, you'll have, of course, the reds go together on one bank, and the other ones go together on the other side. So, like I said, pretty simple to wire up. Just plug these right into the injector rails on your CNG kit. Let's see, what else? Of course, your power wires. I'm going to run mine over to my terminal block here, my fuse block. And I'm thinking this is a trailer brake on the 6 liter. I believe this is the trailer brake wiring, and it's fused here. So of course there's no power on that because there's no fuse in there. Now, you guys might know otherwise. I don't know for sure, but I'm through the wiring diagram, and kind of searching on the internet. Man, my phone will not focus. I think that's the case with this one. So I'll just tap in my hot wire on that stud and then put a fuse in. I'm not sure what the amperage rating is on the fuse, but that's the way I'm going to try to do it. Kind of make it clean. And then your RPM wire, which Sean said I didn't have to use my RPM wire, but I'm going to go ahead and hook it up. It shows you RPM on your computer program. It will show you RPM, and I don't know if it will do that without the RPM wire hooked up. It's not going to hurt, so I think I'll go ahead and hook it up. It comes into your PCM, your RPM wire. You can find a signal from your PCM, and PCM is right here on the other side of the battery, on the right side of the battery. It's pin number 10 on the red cannon plug, and it's a white wire, so I'm going to hook into that. Seems like probably the easiest way to get a tack signal. I know you can also get a tack signal off of, I think it's your number 1 coil, but I'm not really sure which wire to tap into. I don't have a wiring diagram for the engine. I wish I did. It would make this a lot easier for me to, locate wires and such. But I don't have that information, so I'm not going to use it. Just going by some of the things I've Googled and done Google searches for. So anyway, let's see if I can get a light over here. This is the driver's side. A little more difficult to tap into that intake because there's a little more wiring over here. Your main bus harness comes over this, and even though you can unbolt it, pick it up, you still have it in your way. So that kind of made it a little bit more difficult. And tapping the injector nozzles in the very back, you can see it in the very back there. It's kind of difficult, get in there with the tap. Those most aft 2 nozzles, I tapped them all the way down on the tap instead of just starting the tap and pulling it back out. And they were a little bit loose going in. I wasn't real comfortable with that. But, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I used red Loctite. They said to use blue Loctite, but they're not coming back out. I mean, this is it. Once they go in there, they're in there. And I didn't want them to back off or have any trouble with that down the road. So anyway, like I said, it's the initial investment's kind of high. You know, if you can find a couple of bottles that are, you know, say expire in 2016, that will save you quite a bit of money. My plan is to, I've got bottles that expire at the end of 2014. I've got 2 of them. I really got a good deal on them. I felt like, I know they're going to expire in a year. But once they expire, I think I'm going to go with make the investment and go with the 21 or 24 GGE tank. And then when I, you know, upgrade the truck, sell it and buy something a little bit newer, I can just take this complete system out and switch it over to the newer model truck and try to get something with a CAN bus OBD2 style system, because you can, on this system, connect into your OBD2, which, you know, from what I understand and from what I've read, makes it, you know, it makes it run a little better. It self-tunes a little bit better. So, you know, I think in the long run, this system is the best way for me to go. It was the premium system from my CNG guy. Like I said, they're pretty good guys to work with. I've talked to them a little bit about this, and they've been helpful, you know, answered all my questions. So, you know, kind of a plug for those guys. They're a good group of guys. But, you know, I'm going to try to make this as factory as possible, and, you know, where you don't see the wires running everywhere. And my engine covers, I have covers over, you know, the sides, and that's something I found might be an issue to get back on there, because the ejector tubes are pretty short, and from the injector to the injector nozzles, the tubes are fairly short, so the injector is going to sit right on top of my coils right there. Injector rails will sit up here on top of the coils, and my cover comes down over that, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to kind of get that on there and make it look as factory as possible. But anyway, pretty simple setup. You know, like I said, when you first get it, it's a little intimidating, even for me. You know, but once I sit down, I saw the wire harness. I was like, man, that's a lot of stuff to hook up. And then I sat down and looked at the wiring diagram, and it's like, man, this is, you know, it's no problem. It's just time consuming. It's going to take a little bit of time. I can only work on it about 3 hours a day. I'll probably have 24 hours hooking it up. This is my first one, and I've been kind of taking it slow and making sure I get it the way I want it. So anyway, you have basically a map sensor, I believe is what it is. And mine conveniently has that tap for vacuum. And my map sensor is going to go right here. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's basically a manifold absolute pressure sensor. And it takes a vacuum signal, it takes a gas signal, which comes off of your regulator, and then it has the harness that hooks up to it that transmits all that to, let's see, it's this harness here. There it is. That one hooks up to the map sensor. I believe that's what it is. And relays the information to the computer. And then adjusts accordingly whenever you do the auto calibration. So I think it's going to be a good setup. Mine's an older truck, 01. It's really clean, and I really like the truck, you know. And it's been a good truck, and it's high mileage, 180,000. So we'll see how it all works out. I tow a fairly big boat. I have a 32-foot offshore boat, and it's in one of my other videos. You can kind of check it out. But I was concerned about towing with this system, and Sean said that he hasn't had any problems, so went ahead and went with that, and we will see how it turns out. But anyway, that's the truck. It's like I said, it's a pretty nice pickup truck, but terrible gas mileage, and so anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna report back after I get some of the wiring hooked up and show you guys where it goes, and help out as many people as I can with this. So anyway, thanks.